In Los Angeles, both of us were unemployed. We solved the problem by going into business for ourselves. We established the first animated cartoon studio in Hollywood. Several years of producing one series after another on shoestring budgets followed. Mickey Mouse came into our life.
He popped out of my mind onto a drawing pad on a train ride from Manhattan to Hollywood at a time when the business fortunes of my brother Roy and myself were at lowest ebb and disaster seemed right around the corner.
Very young, and Saturday was always Daddy's Day with the two daughters. So we'd start out and try to go someplace.
And then we go to Griffith Park, and there was a beautiful carousel there. It's still there. Wonderful, beautiful thing.
As I'd sit there while they rode the merry-go-round, did all these things, sit on a bench, eating peanuts, I felt that there should be something built, some kind of an amusement enterprise built where that the parents and the children could have fun together. First thing I did when I got a little money to experiment, I put all my artists back in school. The art schools that existed then didn't quite have enough for what we needed, so we set up our own art school.
Well, you were inventing a new art anyway.
Well, yes, but we were just going a little bit beyond what they were getting in the art school, where they work with the static figure. Now, we were dealing in motion, movement, and the flow of movement, the flow of things, action, reaction, all of that. So we had to set up our own school. And out of that school had come the artists that now make up my staff here, and more than that, the artists that make up most all of the cartoon outfits in Hollywood.
This is not Santa's workshop. It's just one section of a creative world where new attractions for Disneyland are conceived. Now, a great deal of time, sweat, and a few tears were expended on all this, but there's a lot of satisfaction in developing ideas into realities which become a part of Disneyland. Now, we've just finished the first year of our second decade. It was a big year for the opening of many new attractions.
But there is a cadence to the way he sounds that comes from, I think, his enthusiasm for what is in his head. His head was so full of magnificent ideas that he could not help make everybody else excited about what those ideas.
Mickey was the first cartoon character to stress personality. I thought of him from the first as a distinct individual, not just a cartoon type or symbol going through comedy routine. Mickey was simply a little personality assigned to the purposes of laughter.
By nature, I'm an experimenter, so with the success of Mickey, I was determined to diversify.
He had a little car, and he would drive Mother and another young woman that worked for him then home every evening, and Mother took great delight in the fact that even though Mother was the nearest, he would take the other girl home first and then drop Mother off on the way back.
Come in, and we'd spend an hour or so, and he'd be rolling up his sleeves and just totally concentrated on what we were doing. And one day, about 2.5 years later, Walt said, You know, we have to have the author come over here and listen to what you guys have come up with.
Walt suggested to Pamela that she go out to California and work with the Shermans on the script.
After we had written the whole thing.
You may come in one at a time.
Thank you.
Bob and I were totally unaware of the fact that Walt only had an option on the property. We, for 2.5 years, labored, totally unaware of the fact that Mrs. Pamela Travers ultimately would say whether we could do this or not.
Makers. Walt had, I call him Walt because he said everybody called each other by their first name. Walt knew the filmmaking process, and that's the way he built the entire empire, as opposed to deals and salaries and stuff like that. He dealt with that later on, and I think that's why everybody felt as though that they were valued.
He was certainly a mouse of all trades, and particularly impressive as a conductor.
Well, that's what started. I was doing this Sorcerer's Apprentice with Mickey Mouse, and I happened to have dinner one night with Stokowski. And Stokowski said, "Oh, I would love to conduct that for you," you know. Well, that led to not only doing this one little short subject, but it got us involved where I did all of Fantasia, and before I knew it, I ended up spending $400 and some odd thousand getting music with Stokowski.